This week's topic comes from Amanda, who wanted to know how to find peace when feeling miserable, which means this week's topic is about finding peace when feeling miserable. In the previous video, I talked about how I got through a time where I felt miserable. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I shifted from feeling miserable to finding peace. And in the next video, I'm going to focus on a time when I felt the most peaceful. In the next video after that, we're going to meditate. And in the last video called the Fridity or the Friday Ditty, I'm going to bring it all together and I'm going to get a little more poetic and a little nerdy and make sense of the journey. All of the videos will appear in the playlist Finding Peace When Feeling Miserable. So if you have a question like Amanda did, comment below or DM me on Instagram. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself. Here's what I did. The question I'm starting with today: when was a time you were miserable and you found peace? Well, I actually want to start with a poem today about my pain, and it's called Pain, My Friend. It was just a moment, only one moment, from normal to not, when I felt that sharp pain and everything changed. The pain became my unwanted guest who refused to leave no matter how many times I asked. For years I fought, and pain fought too, in this never-ending battle we were both sure to lose. Many times I thought I might end my life due to this never-ending strife. But I kept persevering, hoping for a cure, not even close to understanding the pain was not impure. Then, one day, in the midst of my pain, I relaxed and thought, maybe it just wants to exist. So instead of fighting, I took a breath and said to myself, to be in pain can be hell when I think I should feel something else. And I think that's the same with misery, or the feeling of miserable. So, for instance, I think I talked in the other video about having the flu recently, and obviously my voice is still gone. I'm not sure if you can tell, but for me it's obvious. And the best way for me to find peace was to accept what was happening in that moment and think, oh, okay, well, maybe right now, maybe this is part of the journey. Part of the misery is part of the journey. And I think that, like at the end of that poem, what happens is, to be in pain can be hell when I think I'm supposed to be something else. To be miserable can be hell when I think I'm supposed to be something else. It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine not that long ago, and I said, I think she was going through a struggle with her daughter, and I remember one point during one of my struggles, I thought, oh, I felt joy, and I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be feeling this. And so I took this poem and I took this little thing and I said to myself, to feel joy can be hell when I think I should be feeling something else. So I think it works both ways. What if right now misery is the feeling? What if maybe tomorrow it's peace, or in a few minutes it's peace? But how do I get there? And I think that peace starts to come in when I start to relax into this is what is supposed to be happening right now, instead of trying to change it and trying to make it something other than what it is. How did you know you were starting to find peace when you were miserable? Well, I knew when I accepted it as what that moment was. And why is that important? I think that accepting or finding that peace when miserable is important because it actually makes being miserable not as miserable. And yes, I know that's non-intuitive. And I know for me, it's still true. So how did you find peace? Again, that's that leaning into the misery. Accepting it for what it is, knowing that it's just what this moment is. And that does take effort, and it takes effort to get to a point of that acceptance and peace, because I'll tell you what, at least for me, I wanted to fight it, totally fight it all the time. because I wasn't supposed to have pain. I wasn't supposed to have misery. Life was just supposed to be perfect. The thing is life supposed to be perfect? And if it was, wouldn't that be boring? I think that I had to overcome these ideas. That's actually the next question. What did you overcome to find peace? I think I needed to overcome these ideas that life was supposed to look a certain way. And I'm not really sure where I picked that story up at. That, from growing up, that I'm only supposed to be up on a upward trajectory, if you will. But instead, life looks like these roller coasters. There's valleys and there's summits. We have our own personal Mount Everest in there, and sometimes that's where we're at. We're on that mountain and we're pushing that round ball. I'm picturing. Oh, there's a famous picture. It might be. Anyway, but sometimes that's just what we're supposed to be doing in that moment. And when we fight that and decide it's supposed to be something different, that's when it gets really, really hard. So what inspires me to embrace the misery and accept it for what it is? I think what inspires me is actually my experience of before what happened when I did that, and how I know that it makes my pain, my misery, and all of that easier to tolerate. Because after all, if this is what's supposed to be happening in this moment, and I'm not judging it as wrong or right, that it just is, it makes it easier to live. And I don't have to try and control it. It doesn't have to be wrong. It can just be. And that just gives me so much more peace. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to see things different, It does mean that I'm going to accept this moment for what it is. What changed in the people around you as you found peace? So as I've become more accepting of my misery and my pain, or the challenges that I've experienced in my life, what I've noticed in the people around me is that they're also more accepting of things not being what we may have previously thought needed to be perfect. That the chaos of life, these tough things that happen, just happen. And then it's easier to bend instead of break. So instead of being like a dry twig, now we're a piece of bamboo or something more bendable. Somebody out there with the right metaphor, please put it in the comments. But it makes it easier to live, and it actually brings in more peace. And what does it say about you that things can be tough and you can find peace? I think it says that I can go with the flow, and that people want to be around me whether things are hard or easy, because then I'm more consistent, because things don't have to be perfect in order for me to find happiness. And is anything ever perfect anyway? I don't think so. The only perfection that exists is in this moment, and by the next moment it will have changed anyway. So what did you need to see to know your peace impacted those around you? Well, I don't think I needed to see I don't know if it's a see, but more like a hear, at least, of the people around me. So I think I know, what did I see? I saw them get more relaxed. But the other thing is, I heard them become, like, the words they were using in their world were more resilience based. Like, oh, I'm going to make it through this. And because I was able to maintain my peace, then they were able to maintain their peace, and then it just became like a little bit of a domino effect. What signs will you look for to know you're on the right track to finding peace? I think the signs I will look for is accepting what is. I think that is probably the biggest sign I can look for because I'm not making anything right or wrong. It just, yeah, that I know I've said that quite a few times. I think there's something really important in accepting what is as it is. And I think that goes for people too. When I'm not trying to make someone else fit into the mold that I've created for them, then I'm better able to give them room to be who they are, and they're better able to give me room to be who I am, which is really important. What does it mean that you can do in the future? That I can find peace and, when things are miserable. It means that in the future I can pretty much handle just about anything. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. I really want to reiterate that. Life gets hard. It just also reminds me that I know I'm going to get through it. And it might be really hard right now, and it will get better. And I think that there's something that happens when that hope exists, that and it's easier, especially when I'm accepting what's happening in this moment as exactly what's supposed to be happening in this moment, and knowing that I don't have to change it. So I would love to hear from you. When have you been miserable and found peace? How did you do it? Tell me the story. These videos are going to be located in the playlist Finding Peace When Feeling Miserable. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself.